The Shin Megami Tensei series has been around now for close to 30 years with countless games under its belt, and within that vast series, Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne is touted among fans and critics alike as one of the most standout entries the series has ever seen. It's been 18 years since Nocturne's original release, and the HD remaster is bringing this classic RPG to an entire new generation of gamers. The game begins with you visiting a local abandoned hospital with your two classmates to see your teacher, and right off the bat you can tell something is amiss. NPCs outside talk about a recent altercation between cultist groups that led to multiple murders, and inside the creepy hospital itself you can find rooms with bloodstains on them. You make your way to a man called Hikawa who tells you the world is about to end, and he's about to kill you when your teacher intervenes and Hikawa decides to let you go. You make your way to the rooftop, and just as Hikawa says, the world ends. Or rather, the current world ends and becomes warped into itself, creating a barren vortex world where demons now roam and the strong rule. Every human on Earth outside you, your two classmates, your teacher, Hikawa, and a reporter you met along the way dies. And that is just the first half hour of the game. These events really set the mood for what type of game Nocturne is. Even among other games in the Shin Megami Tensei series, Nocturne carries a unique, lonely, borderline hopeless atmosphere with it that just sticks with you as you travel through the desolate overworld and areas of the game. This may take some time for some to get used to, or may even be a turn off if you're too used to other RPGs with their densely populated towns and lively characters. It's a unique approach even within the oftentimes bleak SMT series, but it does help with the immersion the devs are going for. So after the ending of the original world, your character reawakens as the Demi-Fiend, a half-human, half-demon hybrid with the power to take on demons now roaming Tokyo. And you do this with Magatama, little parasites that you ingest to take on different abilities and attributes. For example, one Magatama may let you learn ice skills upon leveling up and make you resistant to ice itself, but weak to fire. Or another Magatama may make you immune to light skills, while more susceptible to death skills. They're all pretty balanced in this way, and which Magatama you choose to equip can easily mean the difference between victory and the game over screen. The Magatama system is exclusive to you, the Demi-Fiend, and the rest of your party will be made up of demons you recruit to your side. Nocturne, like most other SMT games, uses a demon negotiation system, where if you're fighting a random demon and want to recruit it to your side, it'll ask you questions and request items or even your HP in exchange for its services. This can be pretty frustrating if you're dead set on a specific demon, because negotiations can be pretty random at times. You can do everything a demon asks of you, and there's a chance it will just up and leave, taking your precious money and items with it. In my playthrough, I had a Jack Frost demon take a third of my money, call me a loser, and then ran off. Occurrences like this aren't common to the point where they'll hamper your experience in a significant way, but they do happen. Demons can also be fused together to make stronger demons, and this is likely where you'll get your most powerful allies from. The battle system Nocturne uses is called the press turn system, where the number of turns you or the enemy has is represented in the top right corner by symbols. What makes this system strategic is that landing critical hits or exploiting elemental weaknesses will give you a bonus action, while hitting an enemy with something they absorb or reflect will make you lose multiple actions. This makes choosing the right attack more important and thoughtful than choosing whatever does the most raw damage at times. Do you go on the offensive and try to take a tough enemy out as quickly as you can by exploiting their elemental weaknesses as many times as possible, or do you do the more conservative method of applying buffs and debuffs while not taking advantage of maximizing your amount of actions? Or do you try to strike a balance of both? These are things you'll have to think about in most boss battles and some normal battles throughout the game as well, and it makes it so battles never really get boring or formulaic. Nocturne has a reputation for being notoriously hard, but in my opinion it's a bit overblown. Yes, there's some fights that will genuinely test you, but for the most part, choosing your party and actions wisely will be more than enough to make it through the game in one piece. This is further helped by the fact the HD remaster lets you allocate what skills from your old demons get transferred to your new ones during fusion, while before it was random. In addition to this, the remaster adds a couple new things, one of them being a merciful difficulty mode. The sentiment is nice, but this new mode is actually too easy, making every enemy in the game, including bosses, a joke, where it's pretty impossible to die unless you're purposely trying. The biggest addition to HD Remaster is the addition of voice acting. Most major scenes are fully voiced this time around, and as someone that's played the game multiple times before, this actually helped make the game feel fresh, even if I knew what events were already going to happen.
And there we have our Demi-Fiend. First order of business, let's see what he's really made of.
The performances are all pretty top notch and feel fitting, with one very specific exception. It makes me wonder how I ever got through the game without voice acting before, as it just feels right. Another first this time around is us in the West having Raito Kuzunoa from the Devil Summoner series in the game as a guest character. Previously we had Dante from the Devil May Cry series, while Japan had Raito, but now you can choose which one you want to appear in the story before you start up your playthrough. Just know that you can't change your mind later, so be sure you're positive about your choice before you start. These are all the changes made to the HD remaster minus the enhanced visuals, which do look nice. Other than this, however, it's the same game from 2003, and being so faithful to the original is a double-edged sword, since while it retains everything that was good about the game originally, it also comes with all the flaws it had back then, and leaves some things outdated in 2021. One of these things being save points stretched far and wide. You can suspend your game if you want to take a break and come back to where you left off, but getting a game over will thrust you back to your last proper save station. And with some dungeon areas having save points being half an hour to an hour apart at times, in a game where it's possible you'll be well acquainted with the game over screen is not very fun. This is further not helped by the fact random enemies can carry the insta-kill, hama, and mudo skills, which can't be defended against unless you happen to have the right Makatama on you that negates said element. Earlier I said that Nocturne is not hard if you play smart, and this is true, but these skills that many enemies carry that have a chance to insta-kill you outright have nothing to do with player skill or even difficulty. It's just cheap when it happens and can be very frustrating, especially since a demi-fiend dying means an automatic game over. Another issue many will notice right away is the compressed audio. The severity of this being an issue will depend on the player, especially since the soundtrack in Nocturne itself is very good, but the audio quality is just not up to modern standards. I got used to it after a while, but if you're a big audiophile, it's gonna bother you. The final big issue Nocturne has is actually dependent on what system you're playing the remaster on. I played on PC, which ran at a perfect 30 frames per second, but those playing on Switch will experience slowdowns, sometimes during battle and other times during cutscenes, where things get a little hectic on screen. It's unfortunate, especially for a port of such an old game, but it shouldn't be frequent enough to where the game becomes unplayable. It's a shame a lot of these problems couldn't be addressed, but even with them, I still had a great time revisiting Nocturne with the HD remaster. I think those that never got to play it can still find a great RPG here and understand why so many hold it in such high regard. The final thing I want to touch on in this review is the area in which I feel Nocturne shines the brightest, and that's in the human characters and their reasonings. You see, each surviving member of humanity that I mentioned earlier, minus the reporter and your teacher, that being your two classmates and Hikawa, all have their own reason, or philosophy on what form the world should be reborn into. And it's these conflicting reasons that drive their actions, character development, and are what make the story the most interesting. I won't go into too much detail for the sake of spoilers, but to give you a basic rundown of each, Hikawa has the reason of Shijima, where he wants a world of stillness where no individuality exists. Imagine the collective unconsciousness from Evangelion or Code Geass, where everyone just becomes one being, free of individual thought. Your classmate Usamu has the reason of Musubi, a reason based on isolation, where every person is free to build their own personal paradise with their mind, free of outsider interference. Your other classmate Shiaki has the reason of YOSUGA, a world where only the strong thrive and power is the only thing of value, where the weak are weeded out from society. These three conflicting reasons aren't only a source of conflict for the characters, but you as the player as well. You see, you have to choose which reason you agree with and ally yourself with that character, or conversely, you could reject all three and forge your own path. This is Nocturne's strongest story aspect and is worth seeing the adventure through to the end for. My time with the HD remaster of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne made me remember why, despite its issues, I loved the game all those years ago. Whether you're also a returning player or someone getting their hands on the game for the first time, you're in for a unique experience unlike any other. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me to the end of this one. The goal for 2021 is to reach 5,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and with your help, I know we can do it. So leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video around with your friends. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks guys, see you next time.